What's going on, guys? Come back at you with another video. Today, it's time to shine. You have seen this used as a size comparison knife in many videos of mine, but I've never done a video review on it. I don't know why, because this is one of my all-time go-to get the job done knives. Today we'll be talking about the Cold Steel Recon 1. I've had this knife for years now. Couldn't tell you an exact number, but I mean, if I had to ballpark, I've had this knife at least 5 years, maybe longer than that. Not 100% sure. Great knife. If you're one of the people who only wants to watch the first 2 minutes of the video and don't want to listen to me ramble, and you just want a straight to the point, heavy duty, beefy, really not that heavy work knife that always gets the job done at a reasonable price, go get one. There's your review. But getting to the knife, again, this is a Cold Steel Recon 1. A funky grind on it. I've mentioned that before in another video. There is a reason for that, and I will tell you before this video is over. I bought this knife from a local retailer. Anyone who is from Alabama, Mark's Outdoor Sports in Hoover, Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama. If you're in the area and you've never been to it, go. One of my favorite stores. Bunch of great guys, really know their stuff. Really great knife selection. They've got everything from every Kershaw you can imagine up to Chris Reeves Benzes. And they also do a lot of runs of local knife makers' handmade knives that they will allow them to sell there, which I think is really cool. Great knife selection, good guys. Support your local guys if you can. Again, Mark's Outdoor Sports, Birmingham, Alabama. Highly recommend them if you've never been there before and you're in the area. At the time, again, I don't remember. I've had this knife for many years now, but I'm 95% certain that I paid $90 for this knife, $89.99 at Mark's Outdoors. So pretty good deal. Again, I don't remember what they were selling for everywhere else back then at the time, but that's what I paid for mine. And this Recon 1 is an original before they changed, as you can see right there, CTS XHP. This was one before they went to S35VN. And I'll touch on that a little bit during the video too. Get the specs out of the way real quick. Overall length on this knife, tip to butt, is 9.375 inches. Blade length on this guy is 4 inches. So full size, good size work blade. Length handle on this knife is 5.375 inches. So good full size, hand filling, plenty of room, get the job done work knife. Blade steel, as I just mentioned, this is CTS XHP. One of my favorite blade steels. I love CTS XHP. As far as just kind of one of my go-to favorite do everything, that and 154 CM. I know that 154 CM is kind of getting outdated. I love it though. My original Benchmade Griptilian and 154 CM still gets the job done for me all the time. But CTS XHP, I really like it. I will take CTS XHP over S30V 9 times out of 10 if I can. The newer Cold Steel Recon ones that, again, you can buy today, they're S35VN. I think that is comparable with this. I kind of group those two into the same category performance-wise from my use. Again, you may have had a different experience. I don't know. But I really like CTS XHP. I think it's a good blade steel. This is a Tonto blade. As you can see, if any one of you watched my Emerson CQC7 review, however long ago that's been, it was a Tonto blade but for the reason that this knife has a weird grind on it, I've lost that Tonto point right there. Again, still works great. The rest of the blade still has the Tonto profile, still that really, really strong tip on it. But I'll touch on that. Tonto blade handle is G10, solid G10 handle. Triad lock, if you know Cold Steel, that's their go-to, is the Triad lock. Really strong, in my opinion. Probably one of the strongest locks you can get. Never had one fail on me. Pretty easy to actuate. Can be a one-handed knife. Just don't drop that blade on your fingers. And one thing to touch on real quick. This is a big knife. It's a heavy-duty work knife. Oh, and well, I guess before I should say this, the weight on this knife is 5.3 ounces. So this is a 4-inch bladed knife, 9.3 inches overall length, big, heavy-duty work knife, but it's only 5.3 ounces. It's really not that heavy. Really good weight for this knife. And one of the reasons for that, if you can see down in here, this knife has a G10 handle only. There are no stainless steel liners in this handle. Is that a detriment? In my experience with this knife, no, it is not. Cold Steel makes a really solid, really beefy knife, and I think they build them to the point they don't have to have a stainless liner in there. The way the Triad lock's constructed and the way this knife is put together, it works fine without it. If you know me, I like heavy, thick knives. Most knives I would prefer a liner in. I just prefer an overbuilt knife, if I can get it. But this knife does not have stainless steel liners, and guess how many times that I've had this knife try to come apart on me or felt like I was going to break it? Never. Not once. Not once ever on this knife did I lose faith or confidence in it because I felt like it wasn't, solid enough. I mean, I'm pinching this knife, and there is barely any movement. As hard as I'm pinching this knife right now, if I were to do that to a Benchmade bug out with the FRN handle scales, the scales would be touching right now. This knife, it's solid. It's solid. There's no issue. I know a lot of guys, including me, kind of like that redundancy of having, even if you do have a thick G10 scale, you still want liners. I get that. I understand that, and I'm the same way. But my experience with Cold Steel in general and the Recon one specifically, I have complete faith in this knife without liners. And on this knife, that's one of the reasons why it only weighs 5.3 ounces, is because they probably saved 1.5 ounces of weight not putting stainless steel liners in here. So good job, Cold Steel. This back piece right here, this back spacer, is a polymer plastic back spacer of some type. As you can see, it's got some nicks in it and stuff. It is plastic. That's fine. No issue there. And the pocket clip on this knife, it is right hand or left hand tip up. Those are your two carry options, right hand or left hand tip up. It's not really a beef with this knife. I wish the pocket clip was bigger. It may be stupid. I've never had an issue with this pocket clip in any way. It's strong, it's a secure clip, this knife's not going anywhere. I just feel like it almost looks out of proportion on this knife. I think it should have just been like, a quarter inch longer maybe. I don't know. But that's just me. That doesn't really account for anything. But overall, great knife. I guess I'll get into it now. Why does this knife have this really weird grind on it? As you can see on this side, it has a very tall grind, and on this side, it does not. Well, originally, this knife was a fully serrated Recon 1. As I bought it, again, from Mark's Outdoors, It was a fully serrated Recon 1. And I got that for a reason. At the time I was doing, at work anyway, I was dealing with a lot of rope and twine and stuff to that nature. And I was just wearing through the blades on all my other knives. All the knives I was carrying, non-serrated knives, because normally I don't prefer serrations. I'm not sure if I have any knives. I don't have many knives that have serrations. But I was just burning through the blades on those knives, cutting all that rope and stuff during the day at work, and I was having to sharpen them like twice a week or something. It was something ridiculous. And so I said, I'm done with it. I'm just going to get a serrated knife and be done with it. That way I don't have to worry about it. Got this knife, fully serrated knife. As you can see now, obviously, it is not serrated. And if you can see right here in this notch, you can see how far this blade has been backed up, how much shorter the blade is. This little nub right here is originally where the blade came down to, and now it's moved up. I don't know what that measurement is. Looks like a little bit over 1/16 of an inch to my eyes. I actually, where I was working, where I had this job, I worked with my brother-in-law. He worked at the same place with me, and I ended up quitting. I got a different job, and he stayed. He was doing the same thing I was. He was dealing with the rope cutting and all that. And he is, I'll say frugal. He's very frugal, and he doesn't want to spend money unnecessarily. He didn't have a good knife to begin with. I'll just say that. He's also not really a knife sharpener. And so I knew he was struggling with it. So when I left, I told him he could use my knife. He could keep this knife. I said, and whenever one day eventually you quit, because we had both been talking about finding new jobs, I said, if you quit eventually or something, you can keep this knife up and, the whole time you're working there, and then you can give it back to him whenever you're not going to use it anymore. Well, when I got this knife back, I don't know what happened, if there was a miscommunication somewhere. But it looked like he went from cutting rope to trying to cut through plate steel. Every single tooth of every single serration was broke off, completely broke off. This knife blade, it looked like you had just taken it outside and just found a rock and just sat there and tried your damnedest to chop that rock in half for about 6 hours straight. The edge, the blade, the serrations were completely burnt. They were done. To the point you couldn't sharpen them out. I've got a file to sharpen serrations with. It was past the point of no return. There was nothing I could do with it. So what I had to do was, normally I hand sharpen, but I was going to have to remove a lot of material, so I've actually got a work sharp little belt sharpener. I put the coarsest grit stone I had, or the coarsest grit band I had for the knife, on there, and I went to town. And because of the way serrations are designed, they're scalloped running up that way up onto the knife. So I had to back this bevel up really high to get past the top of those serrations. And I went only as far up as I had to be able to get a straight edge on it again. But that's the reason this blade looks like it does, because I literally was having to turn a fully serrated knife into a non-serrated knife. So that's the story on why the serrations look like they do. And again, the serrations were on this side. That's why this side has a really tall bevel. On this side, it's got a short bevel, because when they mill the serrations, they don't mill into this side. They're only milling into this side. So this side was still basically flat. So I didn't have to put a big bevel on here to fix it. That out of the way, and it's still a great knife. This edge holds up good, by the way. It looks crazy and it looks funky, but this edge, it's still, buddy, it cuts. It gets the job done. It's been getting the job done for me for years. This is a great knife. I'm not saying this is the strongest knife I have. Short of a fixed blade, that honor would probably go to like the 4 Max Scout or something like that. But this is a strong, solid workhorse of a knife. And I just want to say real quick, I've been using this knife for five plus years, and do you see the blade wear? You see some little lines right there. And on this side, you can see down that grind line right there, there's a little bit. I'm not sure what this coating is. I should have looked it up before this video. I know they probably have it listed on every website that sells this knife. I don't know. It's probably a DLC or something like that. Cold Steel does a phenomenal job with this coating. This coating is tough as shit. I mean, I've put this knife through mortal hell, and you honestly wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, the finish on these knives holds up amazingly well, if that matters to you. It doesn't really to me. I kind of like a little wear on my knives. I think it adds some character. But that was just a note there. Overall, this is an amazing knife. This is one of those knives that if you told me I could only have one knife, to kind of do whatever, this would be in the running for me. It's just a really well-built, well-designed, very solid knife. The ergonomics are good. Again, it's got a really big handle, so even a guy, again, I wear an extra large glove, I can still get a full grip on this knife, a comfortable grip. The only thing this knife doesn't have is really any jimping. Again, you can see Cold Steel, they just kind of mill some little notches into the G10 handle right there, which doesn't really matter because of the, lock bar right here, it sits above that, so that doesn't really help. So again, the Nothing Fancy special hack just gets you a little bit of grip tape or something like that, and I just cut a little strip of grip tape out right there, just give me a little bit of extra traction. And of course, this has been on there since I got the knife, so this is almost worn smooth now. It's not really doing much of anything, but overall, this is a great knife. It's not fancy. It's kind of no frills. The action isn't amazing. This is a very tight knife for me. You could adjust that out of it. I don't really worry about it. And this is a thumb stud only knife. There's obviously no flipper or anything because it is that triad lock. Thumb stud only. So you see that there. This knife's really tight. That's fine with me. I don't really care. Little wrist flick, it comes out easily every time. Overall, a great knife. Again, this is one of those knives that I've been through thick and thin with. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it. I used to work for the power company, worked on power lines. This knife has been on multiple hurricanes with me, multiple blizzards with me. And in my current job, I mean, I've put this knife through hell. I've put this knife through hell, and it is every bit as solid and as strong today as it was, as strong as it was the day I bought it. I have all the confidence in the world in this knife. It's really a do-it-all knife. Now, again, I wouldn't want a baton with this knife or anything like that if I didn't have to. It could probably handle it. But again, if I ever have to do something like that, I'm going to try my best to get a fixed blade, if at all possible. But as far as everything else, again, I like a big EDC knife. I know this knife is way too big for a lot of people for EDC. This is normally about the size of a knife I carry for an EDC knife. But it's kind of one of my, only one knives. This may be it. It's a good EDC knife for me. It's plenty strong to do anything I could reasonably expect it to. That big long blade, God forbid you had to, use this knife for self-defense, some idiot, start something with you. I mean, this knife could handle that. This knife would excel at that. Overall, it's just a really good knife. it's kind of a one-stop shop for me anyway, you know, and especially at the price point. Again, I mean, I paid $90 for this knife, and even new ones now that they're still selling. Again, those are S35EN, not CTS XXP. But I mean, they're still it's still $100 knife, and I mean, under $100, I don't know many knives that I would have more confidence in than this. I mean, I know there are some out there, but just overall, this is an amazing knife, especially for the money. I love this knife. I've put it through hell. It's been through hell with me. There have been days that I wouldn't have been able to get the job done if I didn't have this knife with me. Just great. If you can tell, I've got a little bit of a emotional attachment to this knife. It's been a hell of a knife, and I love it. I love everything about this knife. A few size comparisons for you. Again, this is a pretty big knife. Civivi aluminum, put it right there. As you can see, it's much bigger, probably 2 inches longer overall than the Civivi aluminum. And another larger size EDC knife for most people, the Spyderco PM2. I'll put it up top right there. And again, a good bit bigger than the Spyderco. If I line those up from my line of sight, the cold steel overall is probably an inch and an eighth, an inch and a quarter longer overall than the Spyderco PM2. And again, I think those are two different categories of knives. The cold steel is really a workhorse beater knife for me, and I think that's what it excels at. But that's really all I got to say on it, guys. It's a great knife. If you've never had one, I know a lot of knife guys have had these before or still have them. I think it's a great knife, especially for the money. You could do a lot worse than a Recon one. Again, I have all the confidence in the world in this knife. And that's why I still have it. That's why it's still here, 5, 6 years later. That's really all I got for it today, guys. Again, if you like the video, really helps me out. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see some more videos. Again, I try to post 1 to 2 times a week, depending on my work schedule and what life allows me to do. So yeah, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you want to know anything about this knife, have any comments on it, feel free to drop it down below. I try to stay pretty active in the comment section. So if you want to get in touch with me, best way to do it. Until next time, guys, I appreciate y'all watching, especially y'all who stick it all the way out to the end. I know those are few and far between, but I really do appreciate that. Until next time, guys, y'all be safe. Take it easy. We'll see y'all next time.